Hello and welcome to This Could Be a Good Time. I'm going to talk today a little bit more about the inner journey that I think we all need to go on, at least to some extent, if we're really going to be involved in this bringing in this new world, this new way of being, this new system that we desperately need and the earth desperately needs. Talk a little bit about my own process and also just observations that I've made in working with other people, that everybody that I've encountered that is really on the ground doing exciting things of anchoring in this new system, they are all people who have done their inner work to a certain extent. They're people who have gone deep within themselves, who have healed a lot of the kind of surface level crap that we all carry around with us, and have found a deeper place within themselves from which to live. And it's a place where they've found more joy and more deeper expressions of love and authenticity and the freedom to experience pleasure without all of that kind of surface anxiety that tends to be, even if it's unconscious, it tends to be there lots of times for people, even when they're having fun. So everyone I've met are people who have done this kind of inner work. So I just want to say a little bit more about that process and what that looks like. So the first thing I want to say is that for most people, if you begin any kind of journey like this, and it doesn't have to be an explicitly spiritual journey, you don't have to think of it that way. Lots of times that is how people think of it, because there are lots of tools within spiritual traditions for this kind of journey. That's kind of what they were set up to talk about. But it's just a deeply human journey. And so if that framework, for whatever reason, doesn't resonate with you, especially at the beginning, I don't think it particularly matters. I just think you have to be interested in digging deeply within yourself and looking deeply into what it means to be a human being and what it looks like to be the kind of fullest expression of this human person that you are, however you understand that. But whatever framework resonates with you for that journey, I do think you have to have some phase of just looking within yourself, of coming to know your own patterns, why you like, why you do what you do, what all these fears are, like getting stuff out of your unconscious into your conscious mind, like fears and anxieties and what you resist, what your deepest desires are. Like you have to kind of go on this process of healing and discovery. And I think during that time, for lots of people, what it feels like is that that there's this self that's becoming, and maybe even you have this experience of there being two selves. There is this kind of self that's becoming something that it wants to become, something better, or something more good, or however you're thinking about that. And then there's this other self that you're trying to heal. Maybe you experience them as the same self. It doesn't really matter. But the point is that you experience yourself as in flux, and that is your dominant experience of reality and of yourself and of this journey. And and you also think about yourself as a particular being. Like you think you are your thoughts, you are your emotions, you are your body. Like that is how you experience yourself, right? And that might just seem like obvious. Yes, that is what is to some of you. But if you keep digging deeper, eventually you come to find this place within yourself that is just stillness and silence. And when I initially had experiences of this, they felt as if they were coming from the outside, almost like they were a grace. It was something given to me by some externalized divine being. But maybe 5 or 6 years ago, the experiences of being in this place of stillness and silence started to get longer and to happen at times other than when I was like in meditation or something like that. And when they started to get longer, they also started to feel as if that just was what was. Like that just was my deepest self. It no longer was something that was given to me or some ephemeral experience that I was having. It just was who I was. I was this deep place of silence and stillness within myself. And then from that point on, not at all times, by any stretch of the imagination, but when I'm in that place of stillness and silence within myself, then all of the other things that used to feel like me, the kind of emotional, whatever, flow of emotions, the thoughts, experiences, those all became this, they're kind of like this sort of surface noise that you're sort of observing in a little bit more detached fashion. And what's significant about this shift in your experience of your inner world is that the nature of the spiritual life really becomes different, and it becomes a lot more about surrendering to what is and less about trying to cultivate what might be, I guess. So, for example, if you want to try and love people more deeply, right, you can try to change your thought patterns so that you maybe aren't so judgy, or aren't so quick to anger, or aren't so quick to dismiss or push away people that you care about, or whatever mental habit you have. You can work with your emotions to try and deal with emotional baggage so that whatever it is that's blocking you from deeper intimacy, whatever it is, you can do all of that work. But you can't ever get the mind to a place of unconditional love for another person, basically, because the mind's natural tendency is to divide and to describe, right? And so you can get your mind really close. You can make your mind a little bit kinder and a little bit more loving, right? But the mind's natural tendency is always going to be to kind of separate you from the other in one way or the other, and that's just what it does, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing, it's just what it does. But if you find the deeper place within yourself, then it isn't about cultivating unconditional love anymore. You just have to get into that place, surrender to that place, and that place is unconditional love. That place is the fullness of love, right? Love can manifest in lots of different forms. It can manifest as that kind of kind, soothing, nurturing love, like the archetypal maternal love. It can manifest as sultry, passionate, creative, ecstatic love. It can manifest as strong, fiery, even fierce love, right? Love can manifest in all sorts of different ways, but all of those realities are just within you, and they come out as needed, as appropriate in the situation, as long as you're grounded in that place of stillness and silence. And what's significant to me about that experience in terms of how it resonates with what's happening in the world is that it's really, the spiritual life becomes really nonviolent at that point in time, because it's really not about, we're not trying to fight we're not trying to fight the fear, we're not trying to fight the anger, we're not trying to fight whatever it is you think that is keeping you from being who you wanted to be. You're not trying to fight those realities anymore. You're just seeing, oh, there they are, and I see them, I'm aware of them. I will grieve them or feel them as they need to be felt and grieved, or released, or whatever that looks like, expressed, whatever that looks like. But I know I am not them, and I know that they actually have no power over this deeper place within myself, because once you're in this deeper place within yourself, even just for a little bit, you will learn that there's nothing that can get into that place. Like, yeah, the anger can't get down there. The anger is always going to stay on the surface, or the hurt can't get down there. It's always going to stay on the surface. You can get lost still in the hurt. You can get pulled out of it, at least initially. But nothing's going to get down into that place. So I think this posture of nonviolence is really important, this shift to nonviolence. And I also think that there's this lyric from a musician who is one of my favorite musicians right now that goes something like, we forgot that the colors die without the light. And finding this place within yourself is kind of like that. It's like this moment of epiphany of, oh, wow, you just forgot how to see. Like, you just forgot to see how to see the joy in the world, and you just forgot to see the hope in the world, and you forgot how to see the love that's present, and the joy and the potential for this really deep life and flourishing. You just forgot how to see it. It's been here all along. And there's nothing you can do to destroy it. And there's nothing you can do to create it. You can really just surrender to it and be its helper, help make it manifest in the world through your actions and your choices. So that's a much more hopeful place from which to be building, to be facing this reality than feeling as if you are doing battle against something, a worthy foe, right? Whatever it is that's out there that seems as if it's taking life away, it's always temporary. It's never permanent. It's just not in the nature of reality for it to be permanent. It can always flow away. And what is permanent, what is abiding, what does last is this deep reality of love that is everywhere and in everyone. And that isn't something, I really want to hammer this home for these skeptics out there, that isn't something, that assertion that our deepest reality is love, isn't something that I read in a book or something that I'm saying because some spiritual teacher told me that. It isn't something that spiritual people make up to make them feel better about reality. It's a very definite way of experiencing reality that is everyone can find within themselves and do find within themselves when they really go looking for it. You will find it. It will be there. It's real, and it will feel, everyone who encounters it, it feels most real. It's not that they are naive and can't see the other things that are real, but this experience of reality, that deeper experience of reality, is what feels most real. So, if you have found that experience of reality, wonderful. Do all that you can to surrender to it and to grow its presence in your life. And if you haven't, and you feel beckoned in that direction, then go and find it and be that person. Be, the more beautiful person that you could be, that you have within you, that you're sort of ignoring and, cheapening in a way. And if you don't, if none of that beckons you at all, then just keep on doing what you're doing for now, because you're right where you're supposed to be, and one day it will beckon you too. So thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.